Okay, 7 o'clock. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the February 4th, 2025, my goodness, meeting of the Orland Park Plan Commission. If we would all stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First thing we'll do is our roll call. I'm Chairman Parisi. I'm here, and Vice Chairman Schuessler.
Here.
Commissioner Paul.
Here.
Commissioner Zamparelli is not here. Commissioner Zatar is not here. Commissioner Sanchez is not here. Commissioner Nugent.
Here.
Okay, so we have a quorum. Okay. So my commissioners, we've all gotten a copy of the minutes, and we had a chance to review them. So I entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Schuessler.
move that the minutes of the meeting of January 21st, 2025 be approved as presented.
Second. Approved by Commissioner Schuessler, seconded by Commissioner Paul. In favor?
Aye.
Okay. Before I open the public hearings, I just briefly how the meeting goes. We have the petitioner will, and let's correct the roll call. Commissioner Zatar is here. The petitioner gets to present their case, and followed by our staff, our development department, and after that, we allow the public comments, if it's an open public hearing, and finally, the commissioners have the last piece of time. Anybody who is going to speak at this meeting, or even if you didn't plan on it, if you're in a position where somebody might ask you a question, we'd ask you to come up to the podium. We swear you in. This meeting is recorded. We swear you in and ask your name and address. And I ask that you state everything that you think you need to state, because that's going to be your opportunity. Once it gets to the commissioners, then the public. And one more correction. Commissioner Zamparelli is here. Okay. It's okay. Thank you. So that'll be your chance when it's okay. And we usually allow about 3 minutes, and obviously we prefer that if 3 different people are talking on the same project, they don't repeat the same question or the same issue, in the interest of moving the meeting along. Okay, and other than that, it's a cold night here in February, and I want to thank you all for living in warm, cozy homes and participating in this meeting. That's what makes things work in this town. So thank you much. I make a motion to open non-public hearings.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We'll open with non-public hearing number 2024-0882, Public Works I move that we continue 2024-0892 Public Works Optimization Project, that we continue it to the April 15th, 2025 meeting.
Second.
Second by Zamparelli. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you. I move that we...
Just to clarify, so that will be the April 15th, 2025 meeting at 7 p.m.
Thank you. I move that we open non-public hearing number 2025-0012, Olive Bakery, 15828 Wolf Road, special use permit development petition. Staff.
Good evening.
I went to staff because it's a non-public hearing.
Oh, sorry, trouble with the microphone. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
The petitioner is here tonight. I'd like to invite them to the podium to speak about their project, and then I'll give my report after.
Yeah, if the petitioners are here, would they come up and be sworn in?
Please
Stand and raise your right hand.
raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that any testimony you present tonight will be the truth and nothing but the truth? If so, please say, "I do." Thank you.
Thank you. And your names and address?
Okay, Manal Nasser. The address.
Yeah.
Could you speak directly into the microphone? Like,
Yeah.
put it right in
kinda
front of your
hard.
mouth?
Thank
Thank you.
Sorry. 158, 32 Wolf Road.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Staff?
Okay, so I'd like to begin by respectfully requesting that the staff report be accepted into the record as written and as presented during this meeting. So the petitioner's project is a part of the County West Plaza, which occupies the northwest corner of Wolf Road and 159th Street. It's a 12-unit plaza. It was annexed into the village in 1994. It's currently zoned Biz General Business District. The comprehensive plan designates this space as a neighborhood mixed-use area. And the two units in question are the two northernmost units of the property. The unit at 15828 was formerly Jalapenos Restaurant and it occupied that space for the last 26 years. They operated under a special use permit, much like what's on the table here tonight, until they went out of business earlier this year. Olive Bakery, which is the petitioners here, have occupied the unit next to them at 15832 since 2021. They are currently a carry-out only bakery. They're seeking to expand, offer dine-in service for their patrons, and possibly add some additional staff. So we need the special use permit, or the petitioner is requesting the special use permit because the land development code does stipulate that restaurants within 300 feet of a residential parcel for the general business district do require a special use permit. You all know this very well, but for the record, the land development code defines a special use as an operational, physical, or other characteristic different from those of the predominant permitted uses in a zoning district, but is a use that complements or is otherwise compatible with the intended overall development, provided that the specified standards are met. The petitioner did submit responses to those standards. They're included in your packet, and I'll touch on them briefly later in my presentation. My apologies. So here's an aerial shot of the plaza. You can see that we're well within the 300 feet. They're about 130 feet from the closest residence, but about 65 feet to the nearest residential parcel. Provided a picture of their lobby of the current bakery. The arrow indicates the portion of the wall that they're looking to take out so that they can access the unit next to them. Which brings me to the other side. Here's some photographs of Jalapenos when they were still in service. It's worth noting that the petitioner is intending to use the same seating that was already there. They're not increasing capacity. They have agreed to install an ADA compliant bathroom in the back, which will improve accessibility to the space. They also intend to update the lighting inside and perform other maintenance as needed. One note that we do want to touch on here is the garbage collection area for the unit. This is a communal garbage trash enclosure for the entire unit. But the land development code does stipulate that dumpster areas should be screened from public streets and abutting properties by 3 opaque walls, and as well as an opaque gate. More specifically, this enclosure should be made of materials that match the facade of the principal building, and there should be no greater opening than 25% of a single wall. And also the dumpsters are all supposed to be contained within that, enclosure area. So as evidenced in the picture here, we've kind of got a strong start. We've got 2 screening walls that are made of the same materials as the principal structure. But staff is requesting that the petitioner, as well as the property owner, work collaboratively with the village to bring that up to code compliance. So the petitioner's responses to the special use standards were satisfactory to the staff. The petitioner has relayed their desire to expand, to offer dine-in options for their patrons. The petitioner's also been very cooperative about improving the access with the ADA accessible bathroom and agreeing to collaborate on the trash enclosure going forward. So the staff recommends that the Plan Commission approve a special use permit for Olive Bakery to operate a restaurant within 300 feet of a residential parcel at 15828 and 15832 Wolf Road, subject to meeting all building code requirements, and to work collaboratively with property ownership and village staff to bring the garbage enclosure up to code compliance. Here is the staff recommended motion.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Before we go further, the petitioner for Olive Bakery present?
Yes, they're at the.
Right there.
Yeah, no. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
No, I got you confused with the place, what's it, Al Jazeera? No, where is it? Al Jazeera Food Mart. Okay, we'll get to you next. So, you understand the requirements, the trash enclosure, and the requirements that they, based upon a recommendation for approval? And you have any comments or questions for us?
No.
Okay,
We just respect
Well then-
everybody here, just to give us.
well then, thank you.
Can't hear you.
Thank you. You can be seated. Okay. Thank you. We are in receipt of a letter from the owner of the business that's next door. And that is Al Jazeera Food Mart, right? Sir, would you step up to the mic? Can we swear you in, please?
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that any testimony you present tonight in this matter will be the truth and nothing but the truth? If so, please say, "I do."
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Your name and address, sir?
My name is Osama Ishwai. The address is 15840 and 15836. I have 2 doors. And this is Al Jazeera Food Market. And food and catering.
Okay. I'm in receipt of your letter.
Yeah.
Very detailed letter. Thank you for giving it to us. And looking at it, there's just 2 things that come to mind to me immediately. You mentioned in your letter that the proposed business of the Olive Bakery, the catering would hurt your business. And because you too cater, which I just have 2 points I want to make. One is, and I guess we got to find this out, while you were approved for a food mart, it's been some while now, were you approved for catering food? We need to find that out. That's an issue, whether you were approved to cater. But the other issue is that you said that you said that there's a breach of the contract with the landlord
Yes.
by selling grocery items, Olive Bakery. Now, the only way I can address that is to tell you that is not a planning commission issue. We approve if a unit is being properly used for the zoning that it's been approved for. What you're talking about a breach of the, agreement with the landlord. That's a civil issue. That has to be done, you can take it up civilly with the landlord, but that's not for us to decide.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I just want to tell you what's going on,
Yeah.
I've been 4 years, I'm losing money every day.
Yeah, and believe me, I regret to see anybody suffering in any way. However, the issue you bring up, if you feel it is an improper use of the property according to lease, that's a civil issue. And that needs to be taken up with an attorney and not with this group.
Yeah, but can I talk? He's a baker.
Pardon?
He's a baker, and he's selling grocery and he's selling food. And I have a food restaurant. The village of Orland Park, they gave it to me 4 years ago.
I understand
Yeah.
your concern. But, it seems to me you have issues that concern you, and you want us to deny their petition, which at this point we can't. I mean, they're not violating any zoning rules. And, but if there is in fact some other violation of an agreement, a lease or whatever with the landlord, I mean, obviously that's a legal agreement, it's a legally binding agreement. That's something you have to take up with an attorney, not with the village. Okay?
Yeah.
But thank you for coming.
No problem.
I wish you the best.
Thank you.
This time I'll go to my commissioners. Commissioner Zatar.
Yeah, I'm kind of confused, honestly, why this is even coming to us, because Jalapenos has got tables and it's the same use, and I'm just kind of like, feeling like this is a little bit of a waste of time, but I'm happy to see the bakeries succeeding. They're gonna take the unit next door. I have full support. I don't have a copy of this letter you're referring to.
I just got it before the meeting.
Okay. I agree with the chairman. You need to get an attorney. Anyone else who has a complaint about another business, that's not really our jurisdiction, If 5 bakers or 5 grocers wanted to come in and rent units in the plaza, we would give them approvals equally. We don't pick and choose who wins. If you have an agreement with the landlord, you probably need to go to the Cook County Court, right? So good luck with that, and sorry about your business. And I'm a customer actually of that bakery, and it's really good. So I'm excited to see them expanding.
Well, thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you, Joe.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to just respond to that. We did investigate the special use permit for jalapenos. It was tethered to the tenant and not the space. So once they vacated the space, it went back to general.
Oh, I see. Okay, well, I understand. The other thing I actually wanted to note for the record is, I forget the name of the plaza where the Mexican restaurant is next to Nissan.
Seville Plaza.
Seville.
I'm sorry?
Seville.
Okay, we had a very similar issue with staff and that petition around the garbage enclosure. This is a tenant. They're not responsible for building a garbage enclosure. They're probably not even allowed to build something on the property. So that beef is kind of with the landlord. Hopefully, they have some leverage. They're gonna sign another lease and they can convince the landlord to build the garbage enclosure. But honestly, I don't think that our approval should be a condition of the landlord doing something. They have no control over getting that done. They're not allowed legally to modify the outside of the building unless the landlord consents, because the landlord owns the building. They're just tenants.
But
So, as far as I'm concerned, I would be motioning to approve this without that being a condition. Hopefully, we can get the landlord to comply, but it's not their fault.
But we do have the authority to recommend that they work with the landlord. We do have the authority to not give a blank approval to something that may have what we might consider to be an unsafe or unhealthy environment.
I get it. And
Yeah.
then we can create an environment where the landlord doesn't get a tenant and doesn't care.
Well,
So-
I think the landlord would rather build a
Yeah,
wall
I
than
hope
lose a
so.
tenant.
Listen, I hope so.
Yeah, me too.
We're putting someone in the middle. That's just how I feel.
Yeah, well, and you're right, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sanchez? Not here. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, John. I'm so used to going down the line. Commissioner Paul?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, I agree that if it's required to have the garbage area a certain way, then it has to be that way. By making that part of this, it does put pressure on the landlord, because any other business that, if you decide, if the landlord decides, we're just not going to do it, and now you can't expand your business, well, he's got a vacant business next door. Any other business that comes in there, it's going to be the same thing. So somebody's going to move in there, and when they do, they've got to fix the garbage enclosure, right?
Okay.
So I'm fine with that. I'm fine leaving it in. As far as competition, hey, you guys fight it out. I mean, that's how I've always looked at it. We're not like Commissioner Zatara said, we're not here to pick winners and losers. And I think it's a great idea. I mean, essentially, we're trading off a restaurant that has seats in it for a restaurant that has seats in it. We didn't have any problem with the other one. I don't see why we'd have a problem with this one. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Zamparelli?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it's great. Business is doing well, and they have to expand in Orland Park, so congratulations. I'll have to go there sometime. So I think it's a no-brainer there. However, I have to say on the dumpster, if we took that out, we have no way of landlords never have to comply. They're not going to get rent until this is fixed. And that's kind of a question I wanted to ask. They're already running, they're already occupied. When will this dumpster issue be rectified?
I don't think that we've established a firm deadline. We do ask that they work collaboratively with us, and we'll try to establish a process going forward with that. We do view it in line with the special standards, the special use standards, that it's a reasonable ask from our perspective.
I think it is too. So, I mean, I don't want to slow them down, but I think the landlord has to move on it or maybe not get rent. So, and as for you, sir, I have to say I sell real estate, and I think it should have been something in your lease when you drew up your lease. You say, hey, I don't want any other food, anybody making food in this strip mall. And then you draw that up. You have your attorney do that. So hopefully you've got something like that. But if you don't, it's a strong survive, I guess. So good luck to you, though. And thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Nugent?
Staff. So the corner tenant, Indera's maybe, is Thai Indian, right?
Yes.
So are they compliant? Because they back up to not a house. So it's only because they're on this side of the mall that this is an issue? Indera's been there, I think, since forever, but.
I would have to investigate Indira's on the other end. When I
just meant, so it's this end of the mall that's the issue?
Well,
I mean, I would do a circumference, or I would do a circle around the property at 300 feet, and if they're within 300 feet, then I would ask that they get a special use permit to be in line with the code.
And even though it's unincorporated, we respect the fact that that's somebody's home behind it, right?
Correct.
Okay. And it's been a succession of restaurants, so we've given this variance 4 times?
That is
Is this
correct.
somewhere we need to update code, or it's better to do a special every time?
We could explore that option going forward, but as for right now, yes, there has been, a series of restaurants in there for the last many decades.
And out of respect to the fellow businessmen, so we have no limit, like Mr. Zatar said, or whichever one said it. If there's 5 restaurants there and all 5 want to be restaurants, then we don't have any limit on that. It's only if the landlord has the lease arrangement, right?
That's
But then our
correct.
code, like that's not too many restaurants for a space or anything?
Correct.
Okay.
thank you, John. Commissioner Schussler?
Other commissioners have answered most of my questions. I like eating at locally owned restaurants that aren't chains or franchises, so I'm looking forward to trying out your restaurant once you get up and going. What's your approximate timeline?
They're open.
I didn't, can you come up by the microphone there?
You need to speak in the mic.
I couldn't hear you.
Would you repeat the question, please?
About how long, when do you think you'll be able to open?
I hope after we get the agreement from a gentleman over here, and we start working in it, and I hope we'll be a month or 2 months.
Month or two? Okay. Looking forward to trying out your restaurant, I think.
I appreciate
It
it.
was a restaurant before, you're gonna have a restaurant there now. I don't see it's a big problem, so.
Yeah, we have big restaurant. Small restaurant, not big restaurant.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I have nothing to add. Everything's been covered. So I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Schussler?
regarding case number 2025-0012, also known as what?
Olive Bakery.
Also known as Olive Bakery, okay? I move to approve the staff recommended action as presented in the staff report to the Plan Commission for this case.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Schussler, seconded by Commissioner Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, thank you. Congratulations. Good luck. I move that we open non-public hearing. No, I move that we close non-public hearings and this particular night.
Second.
Let me start again. I'm
You said
babbling
it.
here.
You said, move we close this
We close
hearing.
this, yeah, on Olive Bakery. Seconded by Commissioner Schussler. All in favor?
Aye.
I move we open non-public hearing number 2024-0884, GW Properties, 7520 159th Street, Harbor Freight Subdivision.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Staff?
Yes, the petitioner is here.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, you're me too? Hi, hello.
Yes.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're a familiar face.
Yeah.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that any testimony you present tonight in this matter will be the truth and nothing but the truth? If so, please say I do.
I do.
And remember, the mic is not as sensitive, so point it right at your mouth.
Okay, lift it up a little bit.
Thank you very much.
Lift it up higher, because you're a tall guy. There you go.
Hi all, I'm Mitch Golds, GW Properties. Thanks for having me again. Feel like a second or third home here. We're here, we own the Harbor Freight property. We've owned it for about 2 years. It is not direct part of our project immediately to the east, but as part of trying to revitalize that property, we are creating an outlot in front of the Harbor Freight, which we recently worked out with Harbor Freight. So here before you is just more of a procedural ask to create a lot to allow for a separate user, hopefully a food user of some sort, down the road to create a separate legal lot. We're not making any changes to the property at this point. We're not asking for any variances or special asks, but for creation of the subdivision, it will all meet code. This will allow us more of a template to bring in a future user to lease or purchase that lot. So happy to answer any questions. There's no user in mind. This is just to allow the plat work to take place. IDOT's already conceptually signed off on this, and
Yes.
this is a
Yes.
relatively straightforward ask.
Pretty straightforward, yes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
very straight.
Staff?
You can have a seat. You can have a seat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to begin by requesting that the staff report is entered into the record as written and as presented. So as Mitch stated, he's here seeking approval of a subdivision to create 2 parcels at 7520 West 159th Street, and that's in the 159th and Harlem Planning District. There are residents located to the northwest of the site, a bank directly to the west, a future daycare to the east, along with the Avis car rental, and Hardis Senior Living to the northeast. To the south, it doesn't fit on this map, but it's multifamily residential located within Tinley Park. So the comprehensive plan designates this land use as community commercial. Currently, there are no development plans, as Mitch just stated, but when a project does move forward, the Plan Commission and Village Board will have to approve of the plans as a planned development with the Harbor Freight site, as there will be some parking reconfiguration. The property is zoned general business and would remain the same with the proposed subdivision. So here is the proposed plat of subdivision, and when development plans do come in for future review, we will request appropriate cross-access easements where they're not shown on the current plat. So I kind of just color-coded the different lots here. So Lot 1 would be about 2 acres in size and would remain as Harbor Freight. Lot 2 is just over 1 acre in size and is located in that underutilized portion of the property. There's a big front lawn on Harbor Freight and then parking along 159th Street. So along with the subdivision, the petitioner will dedicate the remainder that's necessary for right-of-way on 159th Street, so that'll be a public sidewalk in the future. And the proposed subdivision does meet all of our land development code requirements, and it significantly exceeds the minimum lot size required for the general business district. So for the staff recommendation, staff recommends to accept and make findings of fact as discussed at this meeting, and staff recommends that the Plan Commission approves the plat of subdivision for Harbor Freight. Thank you.
Thank you. Looks pretty straightforward. Commissioner Zatar?
Yeah, I just have one question. I think you said the answer. So in the future, Harbor Freight lot will have cross-access easements to this new lot too? And also the daycare will get
Yeah, so there's an
less access?
So I could actually pull up the plat.
Because I remember the daycare petition vividly, and one of the commitments was that the daycare parking lot overflow will get access into this lot, and now this lot is gonna be 2 lots. So now you're gonna have three properties that can
I want
share?
to clarify, the access easements already exist. You can see it on the eastern edge of the property. That dashed line is, we're not changing any of the access. The access currently flows through between the properties from 159th Street. You can traverse over, so nothing's going to change from an operational standpoint to the way it is now. And while there's no plans on here, we have various schematic site plans for different types of users that would be configured in the front. They all have to be signed off on by Harbor Freight to make sure that their trucks can access the site in the rear. So, you know, any future building would hug the street along 159th Street. And,
Yeah, my question is pretty specific. I'm not talking about access, I'm talking about shared parking.
Right.
Can Harbor Freight's customers park in lot 2?
Yes, because there's still cross access.
Yes?
Yes, because it's all under common ownership. It would be maintained that way.
That was it. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you. Commissioner Zamparelli?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Really pretty cut and dry. I'm kind of surprised it stayed empty for so long, you know. But the parking, though, I do remember that meeting, and we were sharing it. Was there enough parking? You know, I mean, I know we don't have an idea of what's going in here, you know, but we were taking some overflow from the daycare over into these lots, were we not?
So I believe that was about for the Avis one.
Yeah, I'm just to be clear, I mean, there's a separate property, separate parcel from all that stuff we had
Right.
discussed. Harbor Freight has
Plenty.
twice as much parking they need on what's considered here
2 acres.
Lot 1. I mean,
Yeah.
this parking is never used, but for people that are maybe fly dumping or
Right.
waiting for something. So we've somewhat been competing with ourselves from our lots immediately to the east. I'm pleased to let you know we have recently secured a user for the lot between Freddy's, the former Freddy's and Avis, which I'll hopefully soon be before you guys discuss that. But this parcel, we just need to subdivide it so that when we have a user, there's a predefined lot as to what they can kind of work within, so.
I'm at Harbor Freight, so I see the parking lot is never used. I mean, there's plenty of
I
land.
mean, this
there, but
used to be, I think, a Frank's Nursery back
It
in
was
the
a
day.
Frank's,
Yeah, it was.
yes.
That green space behind, well, in front of the building is actually being used for detention. I think that's where they had their outdoor sales and whatnot.
The Christmas trees, that's where they
Yeah,
used to display,
so
you know.
it's a little irregular, you wouldn't be building something like that now, but at this point, we're just looking to get the plat lines established, and we'll come before you with a user and propose plans with more lines, so.
Pretty cut and dry, so thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else, Pat?
That's all.
Thank you. Commissioner Nugent?
So staff, Goodwill is nearby, right? So, you know, at Heights, so it has to be a user that you go to because you know they exist. So right now, I did look at the survey, the small print, and we got whatever easement going on there. But that guarantees that back property's not landlocked and it's got.
That's
plenty
the
of
intent,
access?
yeah.
Because we always have to plan for it not being. And now this will be separate. They're not, they're shared owners, and they're gonna be land tenants or whatever. But if we make them separate, they can sell it off, right?
Correct, they
Not a
could.
PUD, so, I mean, if someone comes in who says, hey, we're gonna offer you $1 gazillion and they wanna sell it, they can sell it. What protections do we have for the cross? So like if the ownership's separated?
So they could sell lot 2, but however, nothing could be developed on that lot without coming back to this commission for approvals.
So as they sell it,
It would,
And
it
then
would come in
someone
as
comes in,
a planned development.
because they're getting $1 gazillion, they're gonna wanna give the grants they need. So that's our protection, that protects the daycare for the future.
Well, I also want to point out that a lot of what we're doing or what will be allowed or not allowed, like, there's still a lot of restrictions within the Harbor Freight lot. Like, we have to maintain the access and parking, cross-access their trucks. I mean, this part of the reason why it took a long time is it took a long time to get to a point where they agree. There's conditions that for us to build something, we have to create parking for Harbor Freight. So like, I mean, this is literally simple as an ask. We will absolutely have to be before you guys on some ask with a site plan with parking laid out. But right now, we're doing nothing. Just having the ability to subdivide it so that we can say, this is what we can, do. And then someone will come back before you guys with a plan to answer more of these questions.
So the reason, the bias of giving Harbor Freight the large lot and all the parking, even though they don't need it, is just for their future too.
Well, it's that if you go to the aerial, that line is pretty much where the green space ends. I mean, it's somewhat not so arbitrary, but we just said, let's just get rid of the parking in front. They're not using any of that space, and that area is a perfect example. So that lot line is right in front of that green space.
Yeah, I noticed
So there's more parking on that site than Harbor Freight could ever have. There's parking available behind the building that they just don't use. So they're like, look, we need 20 parking spaces, and they have 80 on their lot after we get rid of all this stuff. So
Nothing against
yeah.
you, but like if a Goodwill user was a user
Yeah.
later, there's times Goodwill overflows their parking lot.
Yeah,
Not all the
this-
time,
they-
but, like a Saturday and.
Look, it's an irregular, I would never build the building the way that this sits. I mean, their entrance is on the side, it's an irregular shape. If this was a vacant piece of land, it'd be reconfigured. in a
We just don't
variety
want to create a property that becomes a white elephant
Yeah.
20 years from now. Okay, I'm good. Yeah.
Thank you. Commissioner Schussler?
Stay there, I have a question for you.
Yes.
I can't remember, it's been a while since I've been over there. Is it possible to get from the daycare parking area, if that overflows into the Harbor Freight?
Yeah, it's right on the site. I mean, I pulled through there right before this, so. And you can go all the way through to the bank too, and go all the way out to the street.
Like in front of the Goodwill.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, this goes all the way, this access goes all the way to Harlem.
Front of Home Depot.
You can go to the depot.
Yeah, it goes all the way to Harlem. I mean, you could actually take it all the way to Harlem and go all the way up to 156, I think.
Go,
You want to
go
avoid
past
the
home,
streets.
go past Goodwill and then past,
Not recommending it, but
yeah.
I do
it
it.
is faster.
You can go to the.
You avoid about 9 stoplights, I think.
All right. That was really the only question I had. So in the future, you may or may not do something with regard to Lot 1 that may or may not integrate with what you have on East.
I mean, it will integrate. I mean, Harbor Freight has 12 years remaining on their lease. I mean, I don't have any expectation it's going to take 12 years to find some plan for the front, but, the access, everything, the building, the future building would be on the southwest end of the property, so that the access, all that remains the same, nothing's going to be changed, so.
I have no further questions.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions, but I see we have several people in the audience. Is there anybody? Pardon? Oh, I'm sorry. You're not forgotten. Commissioner Paul.
Quite honest, my question was mostly concerned about parking, and those questions have been answered, so that's really all I have.
Well, thank you. Again, my apologies. Is there anybody here from the public wanted to address this petition? Would you care to step up? And you need to be sworn in, of course. Go ahead. That's okay. It's important. You
Just
took
go
the
ahead
time
and
to
raise
come
your right
here.
hand, thank you. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that any testimony you present tonight in this matter will be the truth and nothing but the truth? If so, please say I do. Thank you.
Your name and address, please.
This is our first time, actually.
Good.
So, James and Laura Biederman, 7525 Tiffany Drive, which is like where like our building is just to the left.
Yeah, you can see it.
That
right
you could
from
see our
here.
building.
We were just wondering.
Couple just
behind
quick
Harbor
things.
Freight, about that space.
That green space.
Who owns that? Is that,
Hardest senior living.
they own that?
Oh,
Okay.
We were
All right.
curious, okay.
Who owns it? What was the answer?
They do own that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it was nice, because we've lived here going on 45 years, and that was really nice. Used to be all forest preserves back there. We loved it.
Yeah.
But progress goes on, but we were glad when Hardest came in and we didn't get a fast food place or something like that, so we've been really lucky. And then the green space is nice, because we were able to, walk around it. But that was our biggest thing we came before, to see if Harbor Freight owned it. But just another curious question. So, talking about the section that you're going to subdivide or sell off, which would be on the south side of Harbor Freight, maybe toward the west, does that have a zone to it? I mean, for what can come in there once it's sold? I mean, is it like,
It's not
I don't know, like,
sold.
could a fast food go in there, like another Freddy's type, or I'm just curious.
We don't
Yeah,
have,
so-
he just wants to subdivide, optimize that property, subdividing it.
It's zoned. It's already zoned.
What I'm saying,
Just curious.
Yeah, so it's actually in our general business district, which is most of our retail, any of the uses along 159th Street in Orland Park. So it's just general retail, commercial, office, restaurant.
So it could be like a little strip mall, it could be another fast food restaurant.
Correct.
But again, we're talking about the south side of the Harbor Freight structure.
Yes.
Yes.
Correct?
yes. And anybody who wanted to do something, again, would have to go through development and would have to
Okay.
come before this commission again.
We're just curious.
No, no,
I guess that's
no.
our first time in
No, that's all
45
right.
years
No,
we
you're
came,
curious
but
and you came out, and I respect
just
that.
because we've been
No.
so lucky,
No, I appreciate you
you
did
know,
it.
to
No.
not have fast food go in, particularly
Yeah.
fast food, you know? It's okay, just
Well, when and
curious.
if it occurs, there will be meetings again,
Okay.
and we hope we would see you there.
We just wanted to come for the experience.
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
All righty.
You're asking about that, but you're ignoring, you realize the other one's gonna be daycare, right?
Actually, we didn't know about it. We just found out about it today but it's between Avis and their parking lot, is what you guys were talking about.
Okay.
A little daycare.
Okay.
And can you let, Freddy's can be all the same stuff too, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's supposed to make it. I know there is little sections of undeveloped in
Okay.
that area.
77th Avenue.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, all of the commissioners have had their opportunity to comment on it, so at this point, I would look for a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Schussler.
regarding case number 2025-0884, also known as GW Properties Harbor Freight Subdivision, I move to approve the staff recommended action for this case.
Second?
Motion by Commissioner Schussler, second by Commissioner Paul. In favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? No. Okay, well, thank you. I move that we close non-public hearing number 2024-0884 GW Properties Harbor Freight Subdivision.
Second?
Second by Commissioner Paul. In favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. I move we open non-public hearing number 2024-0959, special use permit for a fitness center, Planet Fitness.
Second?
Second by Commissioner Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So, we have the petitioner here, right?
Yes, petitioner is here.
Would you, and by the way, again, anybody who's having to do with this Planet Fitness permit, if there's a question that might pertain to your expertise in it, you would have to be sworn in as well. So, okay, so go ahead, swear me.
Can you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that any testimony you present tonight will be the truth and nothing but the truth? If so, please say, "I do."
I do.
Thank you.
Name and address, please.
Thomas Lascaris, Rogers, Arkansas.
Okay. So, you're aware of any requirements and everything? Do you have any questions or?
No, sir.
Okay. All righty. Staff?
I can start. And you can have a seat. Thank you. Yeah, I'd like to begin by requesting that this staff report is also entered into the record. So the petitioner today is seeking approval of a special use permit for a health club or fitness center land use at 103A Orland Park Place. The site's located in the Regional Core Planning District and is dedicated as regional mixed use, and the user is Planet Fitness. So just for some context, the site is located on the east side of Orland Park Place in the former Binny's tenant space. The Planet Fitness tenant space has an entrance next to the existing Marshall store, while most of the other store entrances are located to the north or the west of this site. So the comprehensive plan designates this land use as regional mixed use, and fitness center land use is considered appropriate in the comp plan for this category. So here's an aerial view of the entrance to the site and of the parking configuration. So staff asked the petitioner to apply for an appearance review to address some of the nonconformities out in front of the site, including adding a landscape island and improving the ADA parking out in front of the site. So for some of the proposed site plan changes, a new striped walkway from the ADA parking to the main entrance of the building are proposed. And additionally, new foundation plantings and 2 new landscape islands are proposed in the striped area on the site. Regarding parking, fitness centers require 1 parking space for every 200 square feet of tenant space, and there's 21,000 square feet of space in this site. And additionally, they also require 1 parking space per employee. There will be about 17 employees, meaning that the site will require about 124, 125 parking spaces. So there are 560 spaces provided just for Planet Fitness here, and currently, there were 2 outlots that were approved pretty recently in the parking lot along 94th Avenue. But even when those do develop, I believe we will still have sufficient parking on site for Planet Fitness. So here's an existing exterior of the site. And for some of the proposed elevation changes, other improvements include expanding the entryways, so there's definitely more windows on site than what's proposed from the Binny's entrance, and then adding additional bollards, adding bicycle parking to the site, and providing new exterior lighting. Additionally, the petitioner mentioned in their elevations that they're proposing to clean the exterior walls and remove any discoloration. It is an older building, and also proposing new signage as well. So staff recommends that the Plan Commission approves the special use permit for Planet Fitness at 103A Orland Park Place, subject to meeting all of our building code requirements, and in cooperation with property ownership, provide and maintain a new parking lot landscape island in the drive aisle north of the main entrance. And here's the staff recommended motion. Thank you.
Thank you. The petitioner is aware of the requirement to add the parking islands then?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you're fine with that?
No, yes.
You concur with that? Okay, that's all. Well, thank you. I'll go to my commissioners once again. Commissioner? Is there anybody here from the public who wants to speak to this proposal? No, okay. Okay, now I will go to my commissioners. Commissioner Schuster.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Frequently, we get requests, and we have to look very carefully at parking. Definitely not a parking problem here for this site. I'm glad to see that the Binny's space is finally being rented again, and I have no questions.
Did it? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Commissioner Zamparelli?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd love to see it. You know, it's a perfect fit over there, I think. you know, only simple questions, not that I was a frequent visitor of Benny's, but I hated that space between the parking lot to the door. It seems like there was just so much roadway there, and the lighting wasn't really good. Is there any thought of changing any lighting or upping the lighting or anything?
I think we're adding some exterior.
Yeah, just on the building itself.
Yes.
I imagine that's adequate, and I don't think anybody got run over, but I just remember it being very awkward getting to the building. And the fact that you put more windows probably brighten it up a little bit as well. So really, but that's all we're doing to the parking lot, right? We're not moving or anything like that, it's just adding the handicap parking spaces a little bit bigger, right?
Correct, yeah. So I believe once those outlots start to develop is when we'll see some actual parking lot reconfiguration for Orland Park Place, but currently we're just going up to code compliance right now.
Good, we all know that we can do a little work on that. All right, great. That's it. Good luck to you. I think it's a great fit.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Nugent?
I don't know, the gentleman or Marcus. So when we did the outlots, we did two, right? And they're to the east of the former, or to the north of the former Buca di Beppo, correct?
Correct.
So, which kind of puts them smack dab in front of us, right? So Planet Fitness will have no other signage at 94th, right? Just on the building?
They are welcome to propose a monument sign out front as they are on their own parcel. And they do get a sign bonus for being at least 200 feet away from 94th Avenue.
And then, so if the two lots develop, their traffic is gonna have to utilize the exit in front of the closed Buca di Beppo, right?
Correct.
So then, as we redivide the parking lot, it's gonna kind of swing some of Planet Fitness's parking to the southwest, right?
Correct.
There's plenty of parking in that direction as well. So people just realize they need to do more southwest. Where right now, if they are successful, their parking could bring people all the way to 94th Ave, right?
Yes.
But collectively, there's just so much parking to start with that there'll be a parking redesign if the proposals happen. Because on the design, it just seemed like we ignored the outlots, but that's okay for today, right? Because we did create the outlots, right?
We created the outlots, but yeah, this use wouldn't have any effect on the outlots. One is kind of in the upper level, closer to the Steinhoffel's door, and the other one is just across the north driveway of the Buca di Beppo. So they're kind of centered in between the two.
Okay, I'm good.
John, you said outlot east of Buca di Beppo. Did you mean?
North.
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 Okay, thank you. Thanks. Commissioner Zashar?
I wish you the best of luck. I can only imagine the investment. It looks like a good idea, so congrats.
Thank you. Commissioner Paul?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, this is a good idea. I mean, what else are you going to put in there? We've talked about this before. Malls can't be a collection of stores anymore. I've seen a lot of, I've gone to these Planet Fitnesses all around the Midwest. Most of them are in malls and strip malls. They're fine. I've never seen 17 employees in any of them, so I'm not sure where that number came from. But, I mean, you can have 20 or 30 of them. There's still going to be plenty of parking. So, yeah, I've got no problem with this.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I'm glad to see the space being utilized, and I'm glad to see that parking situation there, which was really kind of difficult to figure out where you park your car. The way, you know, it's going to be cleaned up a bit. I'm happy about that, and I wish you a lot of luck.
Thank you.
And I'll propose a motion.
Mr. Chairman. Wait for him to come back, or
What's that?
you want to wait for Ed to come back?
Not,
I'll make a motion.
it's okay. No, well,
What's wrong?
well, we can,
Take a short break?
yeah,
did
let's just take a minute or two, and then I'll allow Commissioner Schuessler to return.
I'm back to vote. We don't want to take the vote without him.
Okay. Well, we haven't heard from you.
I think he's on the next one, actually, aren't you? the Humphrey wetlands.
Is he?
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thanks again.
Go ahead.
He just wanted to see us. Regarding this petition for Planet Fitness, I'll entertain a motion. Thank you, Commissioner Paul.
Okay. Regarding case number 2024-0959, also known as special use permit for a fitness center for Planet Fitness, I move to approve the staff recommended action as presented in the staff report to the Plan Commission for this case.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Paul, seconded by Commissioner Schussler. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody approve? Anybody opposed? Nay, okay. So, I move that we close public hearing number 2024-0959.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I move we open public hearing number 2025-0032, Humphrey Drive Wetlands Zoning Map Amendment.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Paul. In favor?
Aye.
Okay. Staff? Thank you all. Thank you. Good luck. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yes. Good luck.
Okay.
Go ahead.
For this case, I'd like to begin by requesting that the staff reports entered into the record. So this parcel is located at 9301 143rd Street and is an open land site owned by the village. The village is seeking approval to rezone the property from E1 Estate Residential to the OS Open Space Zoning District. So for surrounding context, this property is right at 143rd and John Humphrey Drive, just near the new Metro East development, and then the area to the west and south is currently unincorporated. The site's just under 7 acres in size and is mostly trees and wetlands. There was a zoning map error since 2008 that shows this parcel incorporated into the village and zoned open space, but the parcel was actually just annexed back in December into the village. And then all parcels are designated as E1 upon annexation. So this is mostly just a correction here. The comprehensive plan designates the space already for open space, parks, and recreation. And here is a current zoning map of the property. And by approving this zoning change, the property would become open space zoning. So staff recommends to accept and make findings of fact as discussed at this Plan Commission meeting. And staff recommends that the Plan Commission approve a zoning map amendment for 9301 West 143rd Street from E1 Estate Residential to open space. Thank you.
Okay. So we're basically correcting a past error.
Correct.
Yes. Is there anybody, any of the commissioners want to comment on this?
I would like to.
Yes.
Okay, well, then I'll poll you, okay. Commissioner Zamparelli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The sign there is, this isn't actually, it's the open lands. We bought this piece of property, correct?
I believe it was purchased, correct?
Yes, because it's really, why do we call it, because the sign says wetland on John Humphrey.
It says Humphrey Drive Wetlands. That's
Yeah.
the name of the site. I'm not actually sure what the FEMA map shows, but
Yeah, it's confusing, because I happen to have the parcel listed just south of there, and it's like, it's making me look like I'm sitting on wetland, and it's not. And none of that's really wetland, we're just calling it wetland.
correct.
It is, there's portions of it that are very wet.
Well, we know it's very wet. I know the road sinks, I know all that, but we don't know that this is actually a wetland. There's no cattails or anything wrong.
As you go south, the elevation changes really very dramatically. So the part right around 143rd and I don't know how many feet to the south, it's pretty low and pretty wet. I know somebody that lives in a residential area to the east there, and his lot backs up to this land, and the back of it is
Well,
soaked.
actually, the house they came off 144th Court. off of 92nd Court. He brought in at least 300 or 400 semi-loads of dirt and raised his parcel up.
Yeah.
All right, and
I know
that's
somebody who lives
contiguous.
right next to it, yeah.
But anyway, that's why I'm asking, because I
Anything
seen
else,
that.
Pat?
Pardon me?
Anything else?
Oh, I'm not finished, thank you.
No,
Yeah,
I know, it seemed like you were, you know.
Oh,
You had a
sorry.
nice little conversation going on.
No, it wasn't competition, relax, all right? Hold on. So all we're doing is correcting the books, it's, wetland, that's it. I guess I'll be finished. Thanks, Nick. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Schussler.
Yeah, I think that this land was at one point tied in with the parcel right across John Humphrey Drive where there was a car dealership, Terry's Lincoln Mercury. And I think this parcel provided the detention for the Terry's site. Am I right in that?
I would have to look into it.
Here's where I'm going.
but-
If the, we'll call it the Terry's property, I know that somebody else owns it now, but if.
Pete's owned it.
Yeah, that's right, the Greeks own it. If the car dealer site develops at some point in the future, where is their detention going to go? Or are they going to have to provide additional detention on their site, or are they going to have access to this area?
Look right here. There's retention. Orland maintains that right now. This is the Terry's, this is the retention.
Well, that's the detention for the shopping center, for that.
Orland maintains it, and I think Terry's pulls into it too.
Well, let them answer it. Are they going to have to provide additional detention?
We would have to see what their development plans are, but Commissioner Zamparelli did state that, yeah, the Terry's site does have that detention basin just to the south.
So they have access to that
Correct.
detention basin to the south of that property?
Yes.
Okay, so that wouldn't have any involvement with this property in the future? Nothing would go underneath the road as far as detention then?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, that was my only question.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Commissioner Zatar.
Just, what's wrong with leaving it the way it is?
It was owned by the village, but it was not incorporated into the village, so I guess just correcting our map, it was shown wrong for a long time, so just having it dedicated as a park.
So we don't use E1, we only use OS?
Correct. OS is our open space parks and recreation zoning.
We don't want to make this residential?
At this time, there's no plans for that.
Or we don't, and the city or village has no intention of selling it?
Not that I'm aware of.
So I looked up on the map and it shows that as a flood zone. I don't know if it's, considered by the Army Corps a flood zone, but on the flood maps, that's in the flood map. So I don't know if that makes a difference, but I don't think it's ever going to be a park. So I was just curious why we're calling it open space. So.
Yeah, the open space was just more of keeping it as open space, so keeping it as the flood area.
The flood area?
Yeah.
Well, no.
An open floor.
All right, no resistance from me.
Thank you. Commissioner Paul.
That's fine. I mean, I have no problem with this.
Thank you. Did I recall you, John?
No.
Commissioner Nugent.
So everything everybody said was in my head, but a couple things combining to it. So we are, I don't want to say aggressive, we are trying to force people to annex into the village. The parcels next to it, nothing about making this is going to change. Anything happens if those people incorporate on 92nd Court, right?
Correct, yeah, this is just a
They're
standalone.
They're on the
yeah.
list to be acquired. So this changes nothing. Not so much, but just the idea that it's drainage and floodplain for them. So, and not that this matters, but when I lived down the street from there and the village acquired this was on the market and they had a buyer. And then Open Lands came in and acquired the 9 acres so it would not be developed. Their view was the extreme northeast portion could be developed. And so Open Lands came in and acquired it to keep that from happening. That's the history of that. But, and this predates me, but the rectangle behind the old Hortons building, but up behind Terry's, I think there is a complicated issue. That was my other thing, but I remember from the past, we've altered drainage and the detention of capacity, and we did like a trade-off when we developed the Market Bank through Giordano's spot. And I think there is an obligation of future cross-switching over if Terry's got developed. Now, I realize they've acquired it like 15 years ago, whatever, but we should watch and pay attention what agreement we made for the detention on the west side of the road between Terry's and that. Now, is that rectangle owned by the mall with Hortons or former Hortons, or is it owned by Terry's? Whose detention is that?
The village maintains it.
I thought the village signed some kind of agreement because we have to alter it for the future, if I remember. There's something unique about that rectangle parcel on the west side of the road, as Commissioner Znamparelli brought out.
I believe the village is currently owns that property.
I know the village maintains it.
Yeah.
Because I thought the idea was that if Terry's got developed, like we have a mistake or something from prior decisions, maybe Ed knows, and I think we were actually going to eliminate that and flip the drainage to the other side. So, but by making this official, don't take it wrong, I don't think that not incorporating it was on purpose. I thought it was saving it for a future date because if Terry's site got developed, they were going to take the retention and detention and flow it to the other side. So I think the idea of not annexing and zoning it back like 15 or 20 years ago with the other prior mayors and trustees, I think it was intentional. Okay. So you guys think we're cleaning up a mistake? I just would appreciate if we researched the facts. But I don't know if it's because of when Market Bank got developed or when Terry's knocked down. But I think we have an agreement tying to that property that we should look into consideration because if it affects this property, we need to make sure, because as open space, can it be detention for the development of Terry's? That's where I'm getting the questions. I don't want to limit the, because now that, they're going to open tomorrow and maybe they're going to say, okay, now we got to focus on this site. I don't want the development of that site to be restricted because we just did something today. That's all. That's my long point.
Okay, yeah, and detention ponds are a permitted use in the open space district.
So this will kind of be like the site at 143rd and Wolf. Now that we've acquired all that, we can throw more detention into that site. So this will be the same idea. So if we take the detention and throw it to the east side of John Humphrey, it's allowed?
Yeah, I'm not aware of any current development plans, but that could be allowed.
Okay, that was it. That was my goal. I don't want to restrict the ability of that site to develop. Okay.
At which time it would be the village's requirement to maintain that detention pond.
Correct.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Schussler?
I can recall when I was on the village board, Terry Kunis, who was the owner of Terry's Lincoln Mercury, he had proposed to, when they stopped making Mercuries, he had proposed to bring a Subaru dealership, which would be next to the Lincoln dealership. And there was discussion with the village, and I don't recall exactly what the end result was, but it had something to do with detention and the site on the, across John Humphrey Drive. So you might, just so you know, as they said, you might look back in the past history and see what agreements were made or tentative agreements that were drawn up but never executed because then he decided to shut down his dealership and then he subsequently sold the property. So, but there might be something in the record that you should know about, so you might look back in the history and see what that is for when that site is eventually developed.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have nothing to add, other than I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Schussler?
regarding case number 2025-0032, also known as Humphrey Drive Wetlands Zoning Map Amendment, move to approve the staff recommended action as presented in the staff report to the Plan Commission for this case.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Schussler, seconded by Commissioner Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
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 So it's unanimous.
Aye.
Unanimous, thank you. I move that we close public hearing number 2025-0032.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Paul. In favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Now I move that we open public hearing number 2025-0033, 17151 Wolf Road zoning map amendment.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Paul.
Aye.
Okay, we're all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Yep.
I'd like to begin by requesting that this staff report also be entered into the record as written and as presented. So the 17151 Wolf Road property is owned by the village as well. It was also donated to the Open Lands Commission back in 2012. This property was not annexed into the village until January of this year. And when properties are annexed in the village, they're automatically that E1 estate residential zoning. So the purpose here tonight is to rezone the property from E1 to OS, open space. The parcel is located in the Grasslands Planning District, and the comprehensive plan designates it as open space as the property was owned by the Open Lands Commission during the last comprehensive plan update. Additionally, this parcel is located completely within the floodway, and open space zoning is the most appropriate use here for a parcel within that floodway. And here's just a photo for the surrounding context. There's the former El Cortez restaurant to the south, a former school bus lot to the north. It has the Metro tracks to the east and the Brook Hills neighborhood to the west. And here's just an aerial view of our zoning map showing it's incorporated now and zoned E1. And by approving this motion, the property will be rezoned to that OS, open space district. So staff recommends that the Plan Commission approves the zoning map amendment for 17151 Wolf Road from E1 to OS. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Zatar?
You said the neighbors are former? What are they, there's no uses north and south now?
Currently, there is no use on either side.
I was just curious. Thank you. I have no issues.
Thank you. Commissioner Paul?
No, this, again, same with the other one. We're just correcting something. That's fine.
Okay. Commissioner Schuster?
Can you put the aerial map up again? There's a house to the, let's see.
South?
So,
No, the other side of the school bus.
yeah, the other side, it'd be the south, the bottom, underneath the yellow. There's a house there. And that house, I believe, is vacant. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was the former El Cortez restaurant.
No.
Are you talking one to put an addition on?
Yeah, the house that they started to put the addition on, and then we stopped
Oh, I
them.
believe that's to the north.
That's to the north.
Yeah, that's also unincorporated.
Okay, that's to the north, okay.
There's 5 acres there, and they used to have a landscaping company run out of there.
Yeah.
So what's the progress on annexing all the other property along there, the former bus garage property? And El Cortez is in the village, isn't it?
El Cortez is in the village, yes. Everything else around there, except for these two properties, are unincorporated. So we are working on annexing properties, but I believe this one is over 60 acres. So currently, with our annexation rules, it has to be under 60 acres, and you have to annex the entire area that would be unincorporated.
You can still annex if it's over 60, but you have to do all 60, is that what you're saying?
It would,
It'd have to be voluntary.
So
Please, Gary.
voluntarily,
You can't,
more than 60 acres can be annexed, but involuntarily, it has to be 60 acres or less, and then the entire area that's surrounded by the village would have to be involuntarily annexed all at once. So we can't just like pick a little
okay.
portion of it.
All right, so I guess my question is, are we moving toward involuntarily annexing this larger area since it's mainly floodplain and doesn't have any residents?
Well, our intent court is residences.
There's hope that maybe there might be some voluntary annexations, but at this point, that's all we can hope for because the area is too big.
Okay.
It's probably,
What about I think there's a private drive there called Consola Drive. Is there any movement to annex those 5 houses, I believe it is?
again, that one's also in, it's in the same area as this unincorporated area, so they would have to come in voluntarily.
Okay.
yeah, so everything that's light gray that you see on the screen, plus a little bit north and off the screen to the top and bottom is one big area of unincorporated. So it's probably roughly 100 acres. So it's more than the 60 acres, so it cannot be involuntarily annexed.
Yeah.
Okay, so the only reason we're doing this one is we happen to own it, right? And we can do that because we own it. Okay, I have no questions, no further questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Zamparelli?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No question, it's a no-brainer, I guess, but there's a lot of, I don't see the bus depot ever wanting to annex in there, the old bus depot, because they can put more stuff there, They annex in, they could, they're gonna have to clean that up, so I just can't imagine that happening, but it would be nice to see all that just be donated and make it a nice little park area there, but that's a dream. But that's all. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Myself?
Nugent.
Okay, Commissioner Nugent?
So, comment, question, but I just wanted to confirm that you guys confirm that El Cortez is in. And for the record, El Cortez is on my small list of about a dozen properties that someday you guys need not you, your greater department needs a subcommittee. The property tax bill in El Cortez today, which is reduced, is $97,983.75. Nobody has paid taxes there in 10 years. There's $1 million in taxes owed on El Cortez.
That property was acquired by tax deed within the last year.
Isn't that who sold it for 130 a year and a half ago?
Was it tax deed?
The 130? Or they lost it? It sold like a year and 2 months ago.
Right, for the back taxes, were purchased for 130.
Okay, so, but all the taxes remain unpaid. So my question is like on that, and I know this might be a total, we're doing today, obviously doesn't do anything, we're open space. They got a gazillion issues going on there. And they're zoned correctly?
They're zoned general business.
Yeah, so they're zoned correctly. Okay, I would love to see it develop if it's gonna remain a property, and I'd love to see the bus barn developing, though it's the county. So I just keep in mind, that's where in whatever part of you, your boss, they sit vacant. And I would like to see taxes paid to the property taxes, so our school districts and the village and everybody benefits. And I'd like to see sales taxes and jobs. So just.
Can I suggest that staff make a brief comment about the floodplain regulations?
Yeah, so Carrie's very familiar with our FEMA flood regulations, if you want to.
So on the map here, anything that's like the red and blue striped, that's actually floodway.
Right.
So if it was vacant today, like green space, it would not be allowed to be developed today. There are federal and state regulations that also apply to this property. And the person who purchased the former El Cortez property is interested in making investments into the building, but there are a lot of rules and regulations that we need to follow to make sure that we stay in the good graces of the federal government and the state as well, and making sure that any improvement is done within the requirements and then also done safely.
Well, we all know El Cortez is in horrible shape. But the thing that they tried to market for the last 10 years before they acquired it was there was an original structure that has additions. Supposedly the original structure is brick. So they can tear off additions and be compliant, and they're already a building, correct? We will never allow them to expand it.
Yeah, they would not be able to expand.
And they could
We
tear off
have to
that.
look at the value of the structure itself, and the value of the structure, the owner cannot invest more than 50% of the value of the structure without going into substantial improvement requirements, and that may involve other additional flood proofing. Typically, that's when you start for a visual, like, near coastlines where like buildings are up on stilts, like that's kind of the concept that kicks in once investment of more than 50% of the value of the building is invested. So the interest in this building may kick in that those new substantial improvement regulations are like new construction standards.
And if they can ever, I think it's, there's a sign on the bus barn. So the county can allow a business to continue there, and we have zero say-so, right?
There's less concern with like parking lots and that sort of thing. So, I mean, the majority of the former bus
Yeah, there's a
parking
tiny
lot
structure
is, there's a structure, but I mean, if they just reoccupy,
Okay.
I'm assuming there's less investment into the building if that's what they need to do in order to occupy the building, but there's less concern with like parking lots and yards and that sort of thing in the floodplain, just as long as it doesn't get filled in, so then therefore there's less storage area of floodwaters, so, or they care more that it just kind of stays at the same level or elevation.
So my last tying it all together, I think this strip has a lot of tax delinquent properties. And don't we have the ability as a village to acquire them somehow with the county and abate the taxes and acquire the pieces? And maybe we should, because this one was donated, but is there a department that ever looks at something like that?
We've discussed properties in this area internally. We just, things cost money, so.
No, I thought those we could do for zero cost, right?
No,
No?
no.
Thank you.
And a lot of it's also unincorporated, so there's,
Yeah, I
you don't
wouldn't buy
have as
any of
much, yeah, authority over that, yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Schussler.
could you interpret that map? I'm trying to look at the code, and it's hard to see from here. You've got blue and solid green. What's the solid blue?
That's your 1% annual chance flood hazard.
Yes, so that's the flood fringe, so it'd be like
Okay.
less deep when it floods, and it might just be more of like water just rising, but not necessarily actively flowing.
And what about the green to the left and the north there?
I think that's blue and it just looks green because of the color,
Yeah.
the aerial photograph, the color underneath it is coloring, but it's actually all just the solid blue.
Okay, and then on the hash marks part of it, there's light red, and then on the parcel we're talking about and some other part of it, it's a darker red. What's the difference between those two?
Basically, anything that's cross-hatched is floodway. I think it's more of like, it's a semi-transparent overlay, so you see like the grass or
Okay.
buildings or that sort of thing below it, so it's kind of changing the color, but
Only
anything
thing
that's
hash
like
is
striped.
floodway, okay.
Yeah,
Does-
that's
Doesn't matter
floodway.
whether part of it's light and part of it's dark,
Yeah,
okay.
just the cross-hatching would be floodway.
Okay, second question, since you obviously looked at this area, you are able to talk about it intelligently. Do we know how many parcels along there of the more than 60 acres are tax delinquent right now?
We haven't looked into the tax status of those properties.
Okay. And last question, I know that somebody's been working with the county regarding the house that's unoccupied, that they started to put an addition on and then were stopped. What is, well, the other thing that somebody did is they dumped a lot of fill to the south of that house. All of a sudden, like overnight, truckloads of fill went in there, and then they spread it out real quick. Has anything been done to try and get that fill out of there? And what's going on with the house? Because the house is kind of in dilapidated condition. They started to put an addition on, it was stopped, and it's just sitting there deteriorating. Are we doing anything with the county to try and get the house knocked down or status changed, or?
I believe I've spoken to you about this house previously, and I've relayed your message to our code enforcement department regarding the house, but as for the fill, I'm unfamiliar.
Okay. I know the county's hard to deal with. I just wondered if
Yeah.
we were still trying to work with them. Okay, thank you.
All righty, okay. Well, we've heard from all our commissioners, and regarding case number 2025-0033, also known as 17151 Wolf Road zoning map, Amendment 1, I I move to approve the staff recommended action as presented in the staff report to the Plan Commission for this case.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Schussler. All in favor?
Aye.
Nobody's opposed? Okay. So I move that we close the hearing on number 2025-0033.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
I move that we open public hearing number 2025-0111, text amendment, allow lattice towers for government uses.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
All righty, staff.
Okay, I would like to begin by requesting that the staff report is entered into the record as written and as presented. So this code amendment is aimed at updating our wireless communication facility requirements to permit the use of lattice towers for government purposes, such as those used by the police department to accommodate their specific emergency response and equipment needs. So currently, the village has several lattice towers that were approved through variances, and this amendment would bring the code into alignment by allowing lattice towers for government uses. It's important to note that emergency communication equipment often has height requirements, along with the fact that they cannot co-locate along with cell phone towers. And also, any new tower that's constructed within the village requires a special use permit. So each tower will be reviewed at a case-by-case basis by the Plan Commission and the board. And staff recommends that the Plan Commission approves a text amendment to section 6314G3 of the Land Development Code. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments from any of my commissioners?
No.
Okay. Nor do I.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Schussler.
regarding case number 2025-0111, also known as text amendment to wireless communication facilities, move to approve the staff recommended action as presented in the staff report to the Plan Commission for this case.
That's a good.
Second? I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Nay, good. Okay. Move we close public hearing number 2025-0111.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All righty.
Aye.
We have a summary staff report about Public Works Organization, optimization rather, project. It doesn't appear that this requires any.
That's the one that was continued.
That was
I'm sorry.
continued to April 15th.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My bad. Especially since I'm the one who continued it. That's what happens. Okay, I don't think we have any new business. So I move that we adjourn at 8:28 PM.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I thank everybody for their patience. Good night.